Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Leadership Insight Group. And the special theme that we have today is on leadership and neurodiversity. We have a special guest, Xavier Van Oost from Belgium, who's been specializing in the neurodiversity for many years. I've known him for a good few years, and I know Harriët as well has known him for a good few years as well. And it's really appreciating to have him on board and to discuss this topic about leadership and neurodiversity. So I'm not going to do a quick introduction because there's quite a few people here, and I know everyone is being interested by the posts and the comments that I've been having on the posts on LinkedIn and on Facebook, etc. So I really like to jump straight in, Xavier, if that's okay for you, and for you to just give us a bit of a background of your experience. Is also incorporating about the young adults that you help as well, and then but then more into line about what it's about in business. Okay, so I'll leave it to you.
So thank you to invite me. As you will heard, I'm French speaking, so I've been really fluent in English a couple of years ago, but actually I speak less English, so excuse me please if my accent is not so great. The first time I was at ADHD coaching conference, it was in 2014 in Phoenix, Arizona. And people were listening to me and they say, okay, so you are French? I said, no, please, no. I'm from Belgium. And then Belgium, they thought it was a kind of dogs. Okay, Belgian dogs are known for their smell, especially in drugs and so on and so on. But then I told this guy that I'm the same country as Jean-Claude Van Damme. And then they say, oh yeah, I know this guy. And that was it. So, what did I do until now? I'm a physiotherapist. I've been graduated in 86, and I've been working as a physiotherapist in hospital during 5 years in several department. And then I realized that doing all the time the same until my retreat, it will not be possible. So I thought it was the moment to do something else. And I was married, and my wife went into the pharmaceutical business. So I entered a company, and I developed marketing, which I didn't know, sales, which I didn't know, and blah, blah, blah. So I've been there for a couple of years, but in several positions as a rep, and then as a regional sales manager. And then I moved to other companies and so, and I finished as a project manager in the wound care business. Okay. And in this company, it was a small division of a huge company, and we were in a pilot project. It was in 2000, and this pilot project was 3 days training in Germany with all the staff from Europe, and it was feedback and coaching. And I came back from this with the idea. In fact, I've always been a coach, and I didn't know it was existing. So after that, I was looking for a coaching training program in Belgium at this time, long time. There was no school. So I discovered that it was possible to train myself or in Paris or in Geneva, but the prices were so high that I thought it was done. And in fact, I learned that there is still a coaching training program, ACTP, in Quebec by phone, and I thought this is the one. So I did this, and I become a coach since 2002, 2003, but with the feeling that I am a coach already. And then I did work with this school, become a tele trainer. And then I encounter a Belgium school of coaching, and then I did the program. So I did 2 full program, and finally, through the diagnosis of my daughter, she was 11 at this stage, I discovered her own ADHD, and I thought, oh my God, each time that I answered the question yes about her, it was a yes for me also. So I discovered in 2009 that I'm also an ADHD. So, okay. And then I went to a conference, and in this conference, they were speaking about the global approach of ADHD with medication, with psychoeducation, blah, 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 and also ADHD coaching. And I thought, oh my God, this exists. This is too good. And I came back home, and I went on my PC, and I was looking for a training program. So I met ADCA. ADCA is ADD Coaching Academy. They are based in Albany, New York. And so I did all my training about ADHD coaching in English. It was a challenge with the American guys. And it was like, oh my God, this is all true. This is all my life. Because the first program is what they call Simply ADHD, and it is just a psychoeducation program about awareness about this and that. And it was really great. And then I finished all the program also. And then for me, it was, one step beyond, and then, wow, everything happens. And it was clear from 2009 that I'm not only a coach, but I'm really an ADHD coach. And with that, with conference, with congress, with lecture, and so on, I met also other neurodiversity. You have to know that I've got a little brother who is autistic. So neurodiversity, from the start, I knew a little bit that all people are not the same, but it was so nice to develop better self-awareness, and then with that, self-esteem and self-confidence. And then this means that going to action is much more easily, because my reference will be my reference, and it will not be, like in Harry Potter world, you've got the muggles, 90% or maybe 80% of the population, and then you've got the witchers, and we are witchers. And trying to function as a muggle is not the best way. So I discovered dyspraxia. I've got also dyspraxia. I discover what we call in French haut potentiel, so high potential people, or gifted or talented. And it was a big mix of this, and it was like, oh my God, this is so simple. Once I got the good lecture, la grille lecture, how do you say that? Tu dois mettre ton micro.
The understanding, I think.
Yes. In fact, it was so clear that, yes, I'm functioning like this, and okay, I can adapt myself in the world of the muggles, but I definitely will not be a muggle, and I'm really proud about that, because it gives really self-awareness and blah, blah, blah. So I still function into the pharmaceutical business in order to get better income. And then finally in 2012, I decided to stop all kinds of other activities and to develop my practice as an ADHD coach. And with that, giving training course about ADHD program, but more, and I did a training course about high potential, and it was so clear that the mix of the two is also something different than being only high potential or being only with ADHD. And I have to say that 80% of my clients are both. So hypersensibility, hyperesthesia, hyper emotionality and so on are both are as well for ADHD people than for high potential people. So it was really once again an awareness, and I have to say that I'm graduated from ADCA. I've been certified by ICF a couple of years. I stopped my certification because this is big business, a lot of administration. And as you know, or maybe you don't know, ADHD people are not so fluent with administration and so on and so on. And so I really decided to go into the flow of the business to create relationship, networking with doctors, and I've got certainly 3, 4, 5 specialists, neurologists, neuropediatrists who prescribe me as when I was a physiotherapist. I don't take the clients or the patient directly. It was via the prescription of a doctor, and this is one of the best way to create really added value, because we function in a multi approach, in a multidisciplinary approach. So I have to say, and then I will finish this, due to the fact that I've been working into companies and into business, in sales, in marketing and so on, I really discovered that, okay, neurodiversity is quite known in the health system. In France and in French parts of Belgium, they are still thinking that ADHD doesn't exist, or most of the prescribers or the doctors of the physician think that this is not existing because Freud and Lacan and blah, blah, blah. But, so what I want to say is that I did 13 several jobs in 35 years. So it makes me, it places me in a position that I've got a lot of experience in several things. And okay, this approach as a physiotherapist, which means I want to bring my patient or my client into their own autonomy. This is the start. And in fact, my actual job is the full continuation of my first job. It means I don't want to create a dependency relationship with my clients. Far from that, I want to create everything in order that they get their own autonomy. And sometimes I have clients for a couple of sessions, weeks, months, even years, and then suddenly, okay, they are full in their strengths, and then suddenly they phone me back, and okay, they told me, you know, we spoke about that. Yes, I know, blah, 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 because I don't take notes. I retain, because when I'm interested, of course, it's perfect. I know everything. And then we can speak, as we didn't see each other since 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, eventually. And it is great because they know that they don't have to explain anymore. And they know what I feel about them will be correct. And the meaning is really to create self-esteem, self-confidence, autonomy, and also self-advocacy, which is a huge part. And with a good training, with a good psychoeducation about ADHD, about high potential, about dyslexia, dyspraxia, and so on and so on. I'm not so specialist in dyslexia, but they are so often, let's say, this is really the idea about neurodiversity. The idea is to witness the clients, to witness the people about their own way of functioning. And once they get confidence about that, they are able to self-advocacy. And this is really great. And sometimes I'm doing even more parenting in the first step, because they need to have the knowledge, they need to have their own understanding, they need to have their own awareness in order to position themselves. Because a huge problem with neurodiversity as ADHD, Asperger, hypertension, and so on, is that they refer to the Muggles model and not to the Witcher's model. And this is really interesting to put words on things that they will be able to speak about themselves in a correct way with the correct words, and also being able to make that other peoples will understand them. And this is a real training, and it is based on confidence, intimacy, and this makes that people feeling well, feeling good, not well, feeling good about themselves, and then they can express themselves. And okay, and in the business, if I have to hire somebody, and these people are telling about themselves, okay, I'm good at that, and I'm not so good at that and that. Okay, let's focus on the strengths and not the weaknesses. Let's finish this idea to reproach the weaknesses of people, because it is not by focusing on the weaknesses of people that they will grow. And you know, as Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. This is our mission, I should say.
That's beautiful. Thanks for sharing your path and who you are being, Xavier. It's wonderful to hear that the path that you've created there and what's been opening up for you.
And I may add something that sometimes my clients or my patient, or I don't know, the people I'm working with, these people are saying, yes, but you know, I would like to do that. And but if I speak about that to my parents, to my environment, to my boss, and so on and so on, yes, they say, yes, but, you know, and yes, but means no. We all know that. And then I say, listen, I'm not the example. I'm just sharing something. Nobody asked me to become an ADHD coach. I just knew it was the thing I have to do. And then it's so simple. In fact, it's not so simple, but it's much more easy.
It helps to have clarity. That's for sure. Yes. I certainly recognize something in what you said, Xavier, is the fact of being aware of the profile and parts or elements that are part of it. And that is very important for self-confidence and for just feeling okay with yourself. Certainly in my experience, I always felt different. In school, I felt different. In my family, I felt different. I am 65 now. I've done six jobs in my career, very, very different. And once I had an idea about ADHD and the functioning of it, that was just like, oh, so this is why, and this is why. And I got the diagnosis of being gifted, not because I was looking for it, but my daughter turned out to have the profile, which we found out because she had migraines. And then it was, oh, so this is why I always had such bad self-confidence. And oh, and this is why I'm so sensitive to injustice and it makes me react so strongly. And this is why I have such difficulty starting and finishing things and procrastinating. Okay. And so that is really, and I only found out 7 years ago. So pretty much all my life, I've just been functioning, getting along as well as I could. And to some extent, also, what quite a few neurodiverse people do is masking to hide your symptoms or hide aspects of yourself that are a bit outside the standard or the norm.
Yes, the traits.
I worked as an attorney. Yes, I worked as an attorney in a big Dutch law firm. And so there were all kinds of ideas about how I should behave and what I should be doing, etc. And more, I felt like, you know, this doesn't fit at all. And And the problem is that for the longest time, you then think, oh, but it's me, there's something wrong with me. Whereas in fact, what I really like also in the approach to neurodiversity now is to not say it's a disorder or a disability or all of these very defining words, but it's diverse. It's a different way of functioning.
Yeah.
And so there's not this value judgment like you're different and there's something wrong with you. And I think that has also helped me quite a bit to deal with a lot of things better.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if any of our guests are of similar experience. I also know that for people I worked for, my managers, it certainly wasn't always easy to manage me because I would have my own opinions and I would follow them up and that kind of thing. So I know for managers, it's not so easy to deal with people. At the same time, if you have a better awareness of how they function, then so many things are possible. And then all the talents that all neurodiverse people have can just really completely come into their own blossoming, and then really contribute also to how the company or the team will function. So the more variety, the more interesting results you can get.
I would like to share you one phrase, one sentence, which is coming from the Bible. I'm not so religious, I'm not so blah, 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 but I've been educated in Catholic Church, Roman Catholic Church. And during a lecture about high potential people, gifted people, the lecturer told one sentence of St. John, and it is this one. Truth, la vérité, truth will make you free. And this is just amazing that if we put good words on things, that people can give themselves their own explanation about their own behavior, about their own feelings, about their own way of thinking, which is in fact different than the muggles, then this makes them free. It makes that people can allow themselves their own neurodiversity. And with that, they feel secure. And it's, for me, the easiest way to make that people can be themselves and not raw, or they don't have to adapt and to present one piece of them trying to adapt themselves all the time to others. And, I've been employee, I've been manager, I've been in the position like middle management, because I had a team, and then I had my management above me, and then I was really between two. And then, my neurodiversity, which I didn't know, made me feel some things that my management told me, no, you have to do that. And it was for me that I was really stretched. And it was, but this is not correct, but I was not able to speak about what I was feeling about people. And I remember one of my boss told me once, you have to fight this guy and this guy, three guys of my team. They were fights not on my decision, but on the decision of the boss. And I knew on the systemic point of view that once these three peoples were replaced by others, that the system makes that the new guys were absolutely the same profile than the previous one. And in HR, we know that firing somebody selecting somebody, recruiting somebody, train somebody, it takes at least 1 year and a half till 2 years. So this is also one of my fights. Before to fire somebody, let's focus on the plus point, on the strengths, in place of reproaching the negative points. But in this company, I have been fired because in the executive committee, I share my point of view, and it has been understanding as a criticism to the management. So they fired me, and before that, I felt 6 months of how do you say that? That people, you are really out of the team. I enter a room and everybody was shut. I know the word, but it doesn't come. And in fact, it was really tough, but I learned so much about that. And I decided to enter a company if I was really feeling and not thinking it was good. If I didn't feel it anymore, I didn't enter a company. And I want also to share that to my clients, to my coachee. If they are dyslexia, if they are dyspraxia, if they are neurodiverse, to much more align themselves with what they think, what they feel, and between the brain and the belly, it is always the belly which is true. But we were educated by by following the brain, but the brain is not the correct one, especially to neurodiverse. And okay, I stop now.
It's okay. It's okay, Xavier. Xavier, I'm going to open the floor because I think people may have questions that are relating to them, and especially that those that may be in business, etc. What I'm getting is, I see that neurodiversity should be a core element within an organization now. It should be really more recognized of its, I won't say it's necessity, but it's a lot of people like myself. I'm totally dyslexic as well, and I later found out later on in life, and so I always found it hard working in organizations. So I can totally relate to what you're saying there. But I'm going to let other people, if they wish to ask a question, please just unmute yourself and just ask the question directly to Xavier, and then he can answer back. So, Bart.
Yeah, Felicia posted a question in the chat. Felicia, do you want to ask it or should I read it? Or maybe Xavier, you have read it. Okay, good.
So she says, yes, very recognizable. I'm wondering, what do you recommend to create space for the people to be close to themselves and therefore close to their strengths in a very busy, fast environment that requires constantly to be productive and make quick decisions? Let's go with that first part, Xavier.
Okay. I will more speak about ADHD because my added value is fully there. And for me, the thing that it is called attention deficit disorder or attention deficit with or without hyperactivity, which is not only physical hyperactivity, it's much more mental, especially when we become adults. The physical hyperactivity will go down, but the mental hyperactivity and the emotional hyperactivity will be much more there. So I see ADHD and also being gifted, talented is like, it's not a disorder. It's much more a challenge. David Gilbert from ADCA is saying that it is not a challenge of attention, it's more a challenge of intention. And in fact, it's also a challenge of intuition. Intuition is in the belly. The fact is, with the pressure of the environment, of the company, of the management, we will go much more in the mental, like, I have to do, and I have to do, and I have to do. So the real added value that we can develop is what we call to pause. And this is, like traffic lights. So, red light is to stop, okay? In Belgium, it is not like this, but in the States, in Switzerland, in other countries, I don't know about UK, but normally orange and then green. Green is to go, okay? In Belgium, we have the green, and then it's coming orange, and then it's coming in red. But in the States, and then in Belgium, it is coming from red directly to green, okay? In the States, in Switzerland, they are much more aware about maybe neurodiversity, even in the traffic lights. The idea is to stop and then to pause. Orange is meaning to pause. And in the chakra, orange is intuition. If I pause myself, my thinking, okay, I have a lot of opportunities. Which one is the good one for me? And before going, start directly with green, the power of pausing makes that I'm much more aware about what I feel, what I would like really, what I want really for me in my life. And okay, it's a big question for life purpose, but in the common way, in the daily life, we can pause. We just didn't learn to do that. So what I can recommend is if somebody is walking into a company and they feel they've got some pressure, I've got a big orange apple and I've got this on my desk, and each time that I'm in relationships with somebody and I got some pressure, or I had, because I don't have that anymore, I focus on my orange, I focus on my ability to pause, give myself the permission to pause. And the more I pause myself, the more I know from the belly if this is correct or not. And if this is not correct for me, then I don't do it. And I will say, okay, hear your question. I listening to what you say. And okay, in this environment, as that, I will not be able to do that. And I'm ready to adapt myself, but therefore I need more explanation. I need more time. I mean more things in order that I'm able to put myself in line with what I really feel. And this is really the power of pausing. And when we pause, often we breathe out. And when we breathe out, we let go some negative things, and then we just let the flow in of the airflow makes that we get some more oxygen, and then our brain is much more functioning.
So if you have a question, a following question on
Just wait. Is that a really good answer to you, Felicita? More or less. Okay.
Maybe she can. It's not easy to cover everything in one session, but
No.
But she says the power of pausing is a good one.
Yes,
She enjoys that.
Yes,
she enjoys that.
Think about the traffic lights. Put the traffic lights on your desk, and each time that you are challenged, think about, okay, stop, breathe out, pause, okay, what's in it for me, okay, and then if it is okay, I go. If it is not okay, I need additional recommendation or additional explanation or something like that, and then I can go. So, thank you, Bart.
Yes, I have a following up question on that. In working with from your experience in working with your clients, do you advise something like meditation practices or like that? So that, in my experience, when clients integrate meditation in their lives, the whole space thing becomes like a fluent thing, not depending on the context they're in. They might be in a high, quick moving environment, but there's still like a sense of space developed inside of them.
It depends really. It depends really on the I would like to say the level of coachability, but also the level of posing ability. The first time I did meditation, because somebody told me, yes, you have to know that meditation for ADHD people, this is really the base, and this is, you can't, and it was, wow, you can't develop yourself if you don't do meditation. Okay, I tried, and I even went into a temple of Buddhism in Brussels. And then they start about 45 minutes meditation without anything. And I may say you, Bart, after 5 minutes, I was really like,
absolutely makes sense. With meditation, it's often taught.
And because a lot of people don't understand that meditation is not only this kind of meditation for people who are doing meditation for years. What I do, even in a training program that I'm giving, I'm working with the Forum, which is the same as Andriessen in Belgium. So this is the regional organization to make people to get people a job, and I give training to these people, and not to the people without work. I give training to the employee of the organization. And sometimes I do a kind of sophrology or something like that, which I learned when I was a physiotherapist. It means it is more guided meditation by just a scan of the pressure point, like the feet on the ground, and so on and so on. And then once it is guided, then it is so much better, so much more easy. It's so much easy to just follow, because when you follow, you can calm this cognitive hyperactivity. and then the people are following. And then in this kind of guided meditation, of course, I recommend people to breathe, not to breathe in, because when you say breathe in, people are doing like if you go to the doctor and they have to hear the lungs and they are doing, and people are doing that. But if you do that, you know, this creates stress. I have the chance also, it is not always being a change, but I have also the chance to be asthmatic. And asthma and ADHD are often linked, not always, but often. And it is like the more I breathe in and the more effort I'm doing, the more pressure I put myself. We just didn't learn to breathe out. And you know, you've got some program application about cardiac coherences, and this is so easy to follow because ADHD people, high talented people, and so on and so on. If you put too much in the mind, too much in the brain, they will try to do best, and they will suradapt themselves to do that, and they will try and try and try. And I saw a lot of people trying to do meditation, and after the 20 minutes of meditation, they were more stressed than before. And no, I join you, Bart, on the idea, okay, to pause, is this via meditation? Is this via physical activity? Because, you know, you've got your brain with a lot of ideas, and you've got your belly with a lot of emotion, but between the two, there's the heart, and the heart is, in fact, a physical pump in order to make that blood going everywhere. So the power of pause can be just via a good physical activity. And then you release a lot of endorphin, and you release
Dopamine? Is it dopamine?
Dopamine, of course, yes. Endorphin and dopamines. And then these people, we have then the feeling that I did it. And then this creates a kind of awareness, you know? And a good way to align myself is when I get a lot of awareness, when I get a lot of pleasure, when I get a feeling of, yes, I did it, and so on. This creates a lot of dopamine. And of course, we can pose ourselves much more better and have a feeling of completion. Did I answer your question, Bart?
Yeah, you did. There's obviously many different ways to calm the mind. So I was just wondering what you are using in your practice.
Yes. You know, I'm doing a lot of coaching by walk. I've got a wonderful place here where I live together with my father. And we are at 15 kilometers of the center of Brussels, and we have got a lot of fields. And often when people, they are so much with anger, and Zoom session will not make that they will be able to express their anger. I take them and we go for a walk of 1 or 2 hours, even 3 hours. And during the walk, I recommend themselves to take stones or so and to throw them, and with shouting their anger. After 30 minutes of doing that, I may show you that they are really aligned with themselves. And okay, this is not meditation, but this is self-regulation by expressing the anger or the sadness or the joy, because, you know, to be ADHD is often one thing, it is too much. When I'm hungry, I'm too much hungry. When I'm sad, I'm too much sad. When I'm I fear, I'm too much fear. And when I'm joyful, I'm too much joyful. So, okay, let's express that.
That's great. Thanks, Xavier. Anyone else got any questions there? Anyone wish to share? You please just unmute yourselves.
Yes,
no.
I was typing a question about probation because Xavier was sharing that usually it takes about a year to like train employees or new employees and nurture them and weave them into a company culture. However, I noticed that usually there is a probation period for new employees. It always seems to be quite a fast turn. You know, people will just be fired or the probation period will be ended when the management team or leadership team sees that, oh, okay, it's already three months or 4 months. We don't see the progress. We don't see the performance. So we want to terminate, you know, any agreement. I do understand there's a budget going on in terms of how much productivity is actually being achieved in comparison with if there's a probation payment or whatever. So I'm just really having a wide thought about that, because it does take time to accept someone, to also make someone feel accepted. Yeah, I just wonder if this can be kind of like a topic we can also talk about.
It's a huge question.
Maybe it's just something for later on, Xavier, because I think we could go in for that for quite some time.
I just would like to say that having the idea in mind that in order to train somebody, to have everybody on the this person on the good level and so on, it takes time. And I don't know, but where, but I was involved in HR environment, and they could put they could put some numbers, some explanation of about the costs, hiring, training, and so on and so on. A new one in place of letting the people on board. The average cost is about 2.5 till 3 the amount of money. So I think that if we have contact with companies, we can focus on the fact that if you replace somebody, this costs 3 times the same amount of money. For this amount of money, I've got some experience in companies with HR director who told me, who hired me to do the coaching, and it was a coaching about 6 months, 8 months, 1 year, and in fact, the cost of this coaching, when we compare this, about 3 times same cost. If you want to fire because you have to pay and blah, 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 if you do the comparison, it's so much better to garder la personne, to maintain the people into place. And this is, for me, one of the really added value of the coaching idea is, let's make that this guy develop his own strengths, and with that, his own added value, because one of the strengths of neurodiversity is just not to function as the normal ones. And it creates so much thing. And sometimes, okay, we have to, we did that with the HR, with the boss, with the general manager, and also with the employee. And it was just, you know, fine tuning. Okay, he's good and that and that and that. He's perfectly crisis manager. He's perfectly in reaction. He's really with a high added value about customer relationship. And then he could write some things, and then because we are verbal processor, and once we are verbal processor, we can say a lot of things, but don't ask a neurodiverse to put that on words on a paper, because we are so much in the verbal processing that we are creative, and so on and so on. And then if people can understand, if a manager can understand, if a general manager can understand that this guy is with a huge added value about ideas, about this and that, and often they can see in the organization that there and there and there, this is not going. But nobody tells that. And the power of neurodiversity is to see where it is going well, but also to see where it's not going well, and then to focus on that. And when we can deliver this message, and the general management is open, then really things are moving on the good way.
Xavier, thanks for that. I know we're just over to our time limit of 1 hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, was that give you a bit of information? Was that okay from what Xavier just shared with you there?
Certainly. Thank you, Xavier.
Okay, thank you. I mean, it is a subject that we could talk about for hours.
Speak about that during months, I think.
Martin, I saw that you put your hand up as well and you wanted to speak, and then we can then close.
Yes, just wondering about openness. So let's say you have a job interview. Should people mention that they have ADHD or something like that? Or should you ask if someone you work with, oh, do you have ADHD or?
This is a really good question. Yeah. Once again, in French-speaking part of Belgium, as in France, I recommend my clients not to share about their own ADHD or neurodiversity, because culturally, French-speaking person, France and in Belgium, they are thinking that to be neurodiverse is more a negative point than ever. I know with my colleagues from the States and with others, I've got contacts with Scandinavia, also in the Netherlands, and it's coming slow and low in Belgium and in France, but I prefer to motivate themselves to speak about their own behavior and what is their added value and what it is about their strengths. And also, you know, I have got a lot of ideas, and I can be really creative, and I can really be really high performing in crisis management and so on, but not to claim, you know, the etiquette, because you know, as I told you, I become aware about coaching in 2000. I become aware about coaching about ADHD in 2008, 2009, and I did a huge mistake that I was claiming all over the world, ADHD, blah, 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 and this and that and that and that. And the more I was claiming, the more the doors were closed. Now, with the experience I can share you, give the people their own understanding, but don't make that they don't speak about the labels.
Yeah.
In the States, people are doing their own coming out about homosexuality, about this, about that, about hyperactivity. There are famous people in the States who are claiming their own ADHD, and it is great. But in French-speaking part of Belgium, I only know one guy, which is one guy of the media in Belgium television, who is claiming his own ADHD, and he's also the godfather of the French Association of ADHD people. And this guy is amazing, and he did write a book. The book is On m'appelle la tornade. It means they call me Tornado. Wonderful. And okay, it's moving down, and it's moving on, and it's growing, but be careful with, don't recommend people to claim their own status, but train them in order that they are able to speak about their own added value and about their own boundaries, but not to focus too much on the boundaries, because if they too much focus on the boundaries, this will be reproached to them.
Can I add a little something to that?
Mm-hmm.
In my coaching, I put a lot of value on authenticity and people being themselves. And I also consider that it can be your own criterion for, is this a good job for me? Because people try generally very hard to fit into the job description and to adapt to what the employer wants. And I agree with you that it's not necessarily a good idea to say ADHD or gifted or whatever, but to be very aware of your skills, your qualities, and also your boundaries. Because if you're not clear about the boundaries, and later on there's a problem, then you're not in the right place. And so, in my idea, being clear about that is like your own selection criterion, because if they don't want to accept that you have certain challenges as well as qualities, then it's not the right place for you to be. So, because that makes a bit more equality between the employer and the future employee. People tend to put themselves here and then try and fit the profile and convince them and say, yes, I'm this beautiful, wonderful person. But then later, reality happens. I've had it myself in the law firm. I could put a wonderful facade. Oh yes, everything beautiful. But behind it, I was sort of going, it was horrible life. And so if I would have been more able to be myself and also say this and this is difficult for me, they might not have hired me, but then it would actually have been better for me to go to a place where I would have been more in my, where I could have blossomed more. And also, I think now is a very good time to be a little bit more open about these things, because mental health is becoming much more more visible, in sports, Olympics, everywhere. And I think there's a change happening, as you say, slowly, where there is getting to be more acceptance, and that the positives are more included. But I think it's really the most important thing in preparing your interview is to really know your own qualities and strengths and be able to give some examples of where you've used them. Because that will be convincing.
I would like to say that, and maybe it will be my last. As a coach, our main added value is to focus not on the results, but on the process. and making that people are proud, happy about the progression, about their own efforts to get something, about the way that they invest themselves, and really awareing this makes that they will get this confidence to, because one of the things about neurodiversity is that these people have compliance, and they've got resilience. And the more we feed them in order to be themselves, the more we do the difference for teenagers, for adults, for parents, for employees, and even for leaders. The more we focus on their strengths, the more they will get it. And you know, as Nelson Mandela told, they didn't know it was impossible until they did it. And that's it. Let's make the difference.
Well, on that note, Xavier, which is a wonderful conclusion to a really interesting conversation with yourself and other people here. So on behalf of everyone we're here today, and for those listening to the recording, I really do thank you for sharing your passion, your love, your understanding, and the growth that you're continuing to do with all that you are doing in the neurodiversity world. So again, from everyone here, I wish to say thank you for your contribution today. And no doubt we'll probably bring back Xavier for another conversation, because I see the messages in the comments here that they'd love to have you back and to have another discussion on a certain area of neurodiversity. But I'd like to say, from behalf of Bart, myself, and Harriët, it's been wonderful topic, and it's really, yeah, it's a beautiful understanding how, you know, neurodiversity is and how much we cover it over with a blanket. And I know for myself, being dyslexic, how yeah, suffering it was for me in many years and in many areas of my life. But again, thanks again, Xavier, for a beautiful conversation.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you everyone else for coming along and for sharing and for being part of this conversation. The details will be shared in the post with a link to the video and Xavier's contact details as well. If you want to have further conversations with Xavier, if you want to have more information about his speciality, etc. But again, from us all here at Leaders Leadership Group, Insight Group, we wish you a good afternoon and take care, everyone. Thank you.